Well, it's finally time for me to attempt another craft for the first time, and because you guys suggested it, we're going to be doing cross stitch. I found myself this kit at the thrift shop a while ago. If you saw my thrift haul video, you would have seen that. I'm kind of excited to get started on this one. I've wanted to try cross stitch for the longest time, but as with all my plans to try new crafts, I usually get distracted by crochet, but not today. I am stepping away from the crochet for a minute, and I'm going to get my cross stitch on. So first things first, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but that is to go through the kit and familiarize myself with the stuff in it. I also have a crochet. This is going to be like the knitting video all over again. I'm going to keep saying crochet when I'm in cross stitch. I will try not to, but it's probably just going to slip out every now and then. But I also have a tutorial lined up just in case the instructions included with this, if there are instructions, I'm hoping there are, but if they prove to be inadequate, so I do have a backup just in case. Let's open you on up and see what we've got. So it looks like we've got a couple of different patterns. I really liked the original design, which is that not included? Because that's the one I wanted to do. Oh, okay. It's literally on there. So we've got all this thread here. Oh, I like how it's arranged in colour. Nice touch. I approve. So I think that is all the kit contains. Well, because someone seems to have started this for me, I don't need to like insert my, what's it called, Ada cloth, which is a bit of a bummer because if I want to continue cross stitching, I'm gonna need to learn how to do that. And this is looking like a bit of a tangled mess. I don't know what's happened here. So they've worked through, but then what? Then what? Let me give this a bit of a read and see if I can figure out what I'm meant to be doing here. Separate one I guess it's just time to dive straight in. Why not? Let's do it. From reading the instructions at the beginning here, I need to take my yellow, cut 50 centimeters, and I'm not too concerned, at least at this stage, about buggering this up because while I've never cross-stitched before, I do have quite a bit of like embroidery thread in my craft stuff. So if I do, make a huge mistake and I run out of the thread that was provided with the kit, I do have some backup that I can use. It might not be the same colors, but at least it's better than nothing. So I need 50 centimeters. Okay. Scissors. Why am I always losing my bloody scissors? Right here. Okay, so I'll cut myself that. But then it said, I really need to get some sharper scissors too. Then I need to separate one thread from the 6. So let me bring you guys in so you can see the smaller, finer details. But if I take one thread, not like that, one thread, and then separate it from the rest of the herd. I wonder if there is a technique to go about this without the rest of your threads, bunching up and knotting. That would be useful for crochet too, because sometimes if you're working with, say, like 8-ply or 12-ply, and you need just a thinner bit, you want to separate your threads there too. It doesn't happen to me very often, but happens on occasion. Okay, so I know that's been separated, so I'm going to put you over here. I really don't know what's happened here because that is a tangled mess. I'm just going to cut it because I can always, if these threads start to unravel, I can always come back and redo them later. I'll just pull out the whole thing. I'll frog that. And how have I lost my scissors? I just had them. We are off to a great start. But as I was saying, if worse comes to worse, I'll just redo these stitches because it does teach you how to finish off properly in the instructions. But I couldn't really do it in this case just because everything was so tangled. I couldn't even move the needle. So I will leave that aside for now. So I'm going to thread you under there so everyone can see. And then what did it say? Gather the 2 tag ends of the thread so that the 2 halves are parallel. This ensures that your cross stitches will be 2 threads thick and also keep from your needle from unthreading. So they should be lined up like so. According to these instructions on how to cross stitch, I go diagonally across the pattern in like one direction, so from top left corner to bottom right, and then I do the same on the next stitch of the same color. And then once I reach the end of those stitches, I go back in the opposite direction, so working from top right to bottom left in that case. I think that's what I do. Begin from this midpoint. What is the midpoint? Like, does that literally mean the midpoint here? Like, I wouldn't start at the top and work my way down. See page 3 for how to cross stitch. Okay, I did that. Stitch the corresponding squares on your Aida to stitch the yellow areas around each brown spot, leaving the spaces to fill later. Stitch the entire yellow area of the jungle cat's body. They say begin from this midpoint. You've got to tell me what the midpoint is. Is that just like the entire first section of the pattern is called the midpoint? I don't know. Okay, well, I'm just gonna start from the top. So I want to pop my needle into there, I think, and then pull through, and I need to leave a bit of a tail at the back here. So like that. I think that's long enough, and I'm going to hold that in place. So from there, I want to go down to the bottom right, and then I'm going to go through there. And because there's only one yellow stitch at the top, I think I need to finish this cross stitch. So I'm going to go into the top right, and then from there to the bottom left. And there we go. First cross stitch complete. Now I'm going to jump down a row. Now there's 2 here. So I'm going to do what the instructions instructed. I'll do the 2 diagonal lines from the top left to the bottom right. I'll do that twice, and then I'll come back and do the opposite. So if I go in to... The hardest part so far is trying to find the correct hole to work into. So if I go... Nope, you're in the way. You're in the way. Nope. This one. There we go. So through there. So I'm going from top left to bottom right. And then I want to work back in the opposite direction. There we go. So we're going top right, bottom left. And then once more. Nope, that was way off. That was way off. Woohoo, that's 3. I think I've done the wrong stitches. I think I was supposed to be doing these ones, but I've done these ones. That's okay. I can pull them out, I think. How do you throw cross stitch stitches? How does that work? Is there a part in the instruction book? What happens if you're an idiot and do the wrong stitches in the wrong place? Hold please. Well, I'm confused because I watched a couple of tutorials on how to undo your stitches, and they literally say to take your needle out and then pull out your stitches. But my instructions had me... Really? But my instructions had me fold my thread in half. So I can't pull my needle out. I don't know what to do. I could try and maybe work backwards. Would that work at all? So if I went into the last hole that I worked into and undid that. Okay. So if I do that again, but I'm just sort of wary of grabbing a bit of the thread from the stitch above. Which, did I do that? Yeah, I might have done that. I don't think this is gonna work. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm gonna reset and then we're gonna start again. Did a hard reset, turned it off and back on again. And this time I'll make sure I begin with the correct stitches. I think what threw me is that I assumed these were orange stitches. And honestly, looking at the stitches here, to me that is very orange. So I just started off with my yellow thread in the yellow. But no, these stitches are apparently supposed to be this particular yellow. I mean, I can give all the excuses I want. It was ultimately my fault for not paying close enough attention, but it is what it is. So let's not bugger up again. I'm going to start with this stitch here. I don't have too much of this thread left because obviously I had to cut it, but I might do one more row and then I'll grab some more, and it'll give me a chance. Oh, I just undid that one. And it'll give me a chance to practice finishing off as well. Yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna have enough to do this. I might finish there just because I'd rather have too much thread at the back to finish off than not enough in this case. So how exactly did I go about that? When you run out of thread or finish stitching, pass your needle under a few of the stitches at the back of the aider to secure the thread and prevent it unraveling. This is called tying off. Alright, so trim the excess thread, leaving a small tail about 1.5 centimeters long. So I turn it over. I don't really have too many stitches to go through here, but I want to go under them. And I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see how that holds up. And now I need to grab myself another thread. So let's separate you guys. Yoink that out. It was through here. Get in there. And then we had to pull those parallel. And then this time I'm going to start from there. Making sure I leave my tail. Here, I've come up against the eye. It looks like underneath there are yellow stitches. So I'm guessing I make those and then do the eye over the top. Look at the picture. I mean, that's what it looks like is happening to me. And even here, if I look at, which would be this row, yeah, that's a solid rectangle of yellow. So I'm assuming that I was going to say crochet again then. I cross stitch all the way across and then I add the eye over the top of that at the end. And I think I'll finish off this row because I don't have all that much thread left. I wonder, I'm going to use these ones up because that was the 50 centimeters I was told to cut initially. But I'm thinking if I need to use more, I might make my thread a little bit longer because that was 50 centimeters. Obviously folded in half, that gives me 25. But it doesn't seem to go very far. Now I'm wary of making the thread too long where it becomes like cumbersome to thread through. Like I have to have my arm way up here to pull it all through. But I think giving myself a little bit more length will allow me to work more rows than I'm doing at the moment. So I'll use these up first and then I want to try that out. And I think I'm going to have to call that for Excuse me, can you not interrupt me, please? I think I'm going to enjoy this for one of the reasons I enjoy crochet, and that is just the repetitive motion of it. I find that quite soothing. Once I get the hang of this, I do think it's going to be similar to crochet in that regard. But I'll have to achieve a bit more consistency, I think, before I get to that point. All the issues that I'm having so far, I think, can be put down to being a cross-stitch noob. For example, is it called tension when you're cross-stitching? But my tension is not very consistent. My crosses are a little bit different sizes, though it has gotten progressively better. Is that going to focus if I put it up there? Focus? I don't know if that'll focus. But up here, and I think I skipped a stitch there, but up here they were quite loose, but they've gotten progressively better, I think. I'm also having a bit of trouble trying to get my needle through the right hole when I'm pushing it through from the back. It's just, I'm doing a little bit of this until I get to the right spot, but I'm hoping with practice that'll be easier too. And on top of that, I'm kind of concerned I'm not working through the correct holes. While there is obviously a pattern printed on here, it's not particularly centered. So I think I'm working through the correct spaces, but I suppose I won't really know until I have to come back and fill in the rest of the squares. But, you know, on your first attempt, I think you've got to expect little mistakes like that. So I am going to have a break for now, but then I'm going to work on these yellow stitches over the next couple of days probably, and slowly fill out this entire pattern. My work so far. I have honestly thoroughly enjoyed myself up to this point. It's slow going because I'm still obviously new at it, and I have such a difficult time trying to get the needle through the correct bloody hole. I'm always off about 2 or 3 stitches or 2 or 3 holes when I first insert my needle, but I think I'm slowly getting there. I'm picking up speed a little bit. One downside is that I've run out of this particular yellow thread, so I can't finish off the jaguar's tail here. I don't know if that is an issue with the kit itself or simply a product of the fact that I got this thrifted and whoever had it before me may have used up some of the yellow thread. I don't know exactly what the culprit was, but the end result is I have run out of yellow yarn, so I'll have to come up with a solution, and that solution is just going to be using the lighter yellow for the remaining darker yellow stitches. Despite my slow progress, I am really digging cross stitch so far. It has that same sort of soothing effect, or at least it does when I'm not bloody frustrated because I can't get my needle through the right hole, but it has that same sort of soothing effect that crochet does. You can just sort of lose yourself in the repetitive movements. Again, as long as you don't give in to your frustrations. But I think that is something that I will slowly overcome with practice. Progress update. I've just got a few remaining brown spots to cross stitch on the tail here, but oh man, I am seriously enjoying this much more than I thought I would, to be honest. It's kind of been a nice like counterbalance too, because I am currently working on another project. It's right here, which you guys will see in a couple of weeks, but that one has been a major disappointment. So to have this one be something I'm just having a blast doing, it's been a good counterbalance to counteract that. But yeah, I really am liking this so far. I've even gone so far as to look up some patterns on like Pinterest. I'm planning to do more cross stitch. I'm checking out what colors of my embroidery thread that I already have, so I can plan according to that. I'm trying to think of ways that I can incorporate cross stitch and crochet together in future projects. I want to learn more stitches. I want to learn the limits of what cross stitch can do. I'm fully on board fully on board at this stage. Progress is still a little bit slow, but I think I'm getting better. As I say that, I just pull a thread that I didn't want at the front through to the front. But nah, overall I am having a very good time with this. And in better news, it really hasn't aggravated my shoulder too much. Like, I have to be wary of like how long I can hold the hook up for. But as compared to like crochet, it's definitely easier on my shoulder, which is really nice to discover, because now I know there is a craft I am able to do if crocheting is not an option on those days where the pain is just a little bit worse. So that was a neat discovery to make. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I don't know if what I said in the last 5 minutes made any sense because I'm concentrating on my stitches. But let me finish up the tail here. Hopefully it won't take me too long. And a last brown stitch finished. So there we go. That's what we're looking like. Down here, if you can see, is where I finished off with the pale yellow because I ran out of the darker one. But I think that's a very... Oh no, I haven't done the nose. I'll have to do that later. But other than the nose, my little jaguar is all finished. Before I finish off and tie off my brown yarn though, my thread, I just want to check that there is no more brown stitches I need to do amongst like the plant life, which according to the front of the box there doesn't seem to be. So yes, I can finish off with that. Now that the jaguar is complete, I just need to make my way through the flora and finish that off. Hopefully I will have enough of the thread from the kit, but green is one shade that I do have quite a bit of in the embroidery thread I've managed to collect over the years. So even if I don't, I do think I'll be able to finish those off quite easily. And I'm glad I had enough of the brown too, because unlike the yellow, there was more than enough of this. Now we can tie you off. One thing I might need to work on is making my back look a little bit neater, but I'm of the school of thought that if no one's going to see it, it doesn't matter, as long as it doesn't come undone either. I really do like how that looks. Well, I'm just going to admire this for another minute or two, and then I'm going to start on the plants. There's 4 different bloody greens here, so I better make sure that I do the right one on the right spot. I feel like I've gotten a life achievement. New craft obsession unlocked. I genuinely enjoyed cross stitch so much more than I thought I would. I've been working on this in between my crochet projects, and I found myself a lot of the time like wanting to get back to it, even going so far as to want to put down my crochet projects and return to the cross stitch. Blasphemy, I know, but I just had fun with it. That's the simplest, most basic explanation I have. It was fun. And now that I've completed my pretty little jaguar with her forest backdrop here, I'm looking to start new cross-stitch projects. That's how I know that I'm onto a winner here. I want to do more. I didn't do the kit and I'm like, I tried that now, it's done with. If I'm remembering what the instruction booklet said correctly, there are different cross-stitch stitches to learn, so that's something I'd like to do as well. And as I said before, I'm interested in expanding my cross stitch knowledge from here. Because this one was part of a kit, I don't think it was quite as challenging as it could have been, because the image of the Jaguar was printed on the Aida cloth. So my next attempt at cross stitch is probably going to be just plain Aida cloth, and I will start from there. And like, I have questions about that too, like, how do you know where in your pattern to start? Do you start at the corner and like work your way across? Do you start in the middle and work your way out? How do you know that your design is going to fit on here? Is that something that's specified in cross-stitch patterns? What size hoop you need? Lots of questions that I have, which I will hopefully answer over the coming weeks and months. But my next attempt at cross-stitch is just going to be a small project. I don't want to do too much too quickly. But like, no matter what I do, I think I'm thoroughly going to enjoy it. Circling back to what I said about the printed on pattern guide, I do believe that in the end that was actually a detriment to me, because the printed portion wasn't centered correctly. There were a lot of the printed sections of that pattern that weren't aligned directly into the center of the squares. They covered like the holes themselves. So I wasn't 100% sure in that situation where I was supposed to place the cross stitch. So I have made several mistakes on here just because I got the placement wrong. I tried to fix it by like filling in additional gaps and just changing up the shape of like some of the leaves, for example. And I think it looks okay. But yeah, in the end, I think trying to follow that printed on pattern rather than say the guide provided on the front here was definitely detrimental. I'd rather like count out my stitches myself than try and follow the guide, especially one that's not aligned correctly and it just throws off portions of your pattern. Overall though, I think I did an okay job. I don't know what I'm going to do with it now though. For all of you experienced cross stitchers out there, what do you do with your finished projects? Do you leave them in the hoops? Do you frame them? Do you, I don't know, sew them into another project? I do like how it looks like sitting in the hoop there, but the only other hoops I have at the moment are those really big ones I got from the op shop, and I don't want to make a project that large just yet, so I'm probably going to need to reuse this hoop. Although that being said, I had a second cross stitch kit, didn't I? So there's probably a hoop in there. I'll check that out later. But for now, I can conclude by saying I had such a blast with this new, sorry, the cloth isn't doing what I wanted to do. But I had such a blast with this new craft. I am so glad I tried it. I'm going to continue with this, but I probably want to try embroidery next. And I hope I have as much of a good time with that as I do this. The embroidery appeals to me because from my admittedly very limited knowledge of it, it seems a lot more freehand. I'll have more control once I learn a little bit over the design, where in cross stitch you sort of have to work in the grid. But I think they each have their own appeal. So that's going to be next on the to-do list. Speaking of the to-do list, it is time for... And today's featured creator only hookup is HA Crochet 59, or perhaps it's Ha Crochet 59. Have to correct me in the comments. And she says, I'm a doctor from Bahrain. Currently, I'm unemployed. I started crocheting 2 years back, and finally, I am comfortable enough to start selling it. I don't know about you guys, and this is very anecdotal, of course, but crochet items have seemed to be gaining more and more popularity recently. So hopefully that will help with your crochet shop. But if you would like to check out HA Crochet 59's links, they will all be down in the description. So we'll link to a Google form if you'd like to apply for the hookup for yourself. Before we wrap up here, let me know if you have any cross-stitch tips or even resources you would like to share. I would be interested in checking those out, and they might be useful for other people as well. So just pop your links down in the description. Thank you all very much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it if you think it's worth sharing, and I will see you in the next one. I wonder if I can cross stitch some of my own grid patterns, because I've made several at this point, and I think it would be cool to take my Yarnivore jumper and use that design in a cross stitch project. How the hell does that work? Do I just follow it? I don't know.